great to have you join us again this weekend. I'm Temple Ashaju. Thank you for coming on board. The show begins in just a moment, but before then, let's remind you of our Twitter handles where you can join the conversation. It's at Channels TV and the other at CTV Tempili. Now let's move on. The Central Bank of Nigeria this week posted the Purchasing Managers Index Survey for the month of November. The results came in consonance with the trend which began in April, as it showed sustained improvements in the manufacturing and non-manufacturing sectors. According to the CBN, the continuous expansion in PMI reading is broadly attributable to improved liquidity and stability in the FX market, anchored by the higher oil receipts and increased policy flexibility, which have supported the business and investment sentiments generally in the landscape. Now, the manufacturing PMI expanded for the 8th consecutive month, settling at 55.9 points, and that is 0.9 points higher than the initial 55 points that was recorded in the month of October. And ditto for the case for the non-manufacturing PMI, which expanded the 7th consecutive month, settling at 57.6 points, up from the 54.9 points seen in October. So, these numbers are reinforcing the fact that business conditions in Nigeria are on the rise, perhaps one of the reasons why we are now seeing some innovations in the Nigerian capital market. What are these innovations, which, of course, will be discussed tonight on the show? First is the introduction of the NASD enterprise portal, christened NASDEP, and that's meant for the Securities and Exchange Commission registered capital market operators. The second is the establishment of the Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, which has just seen its private placement of 50 billion naira concluded in the Nigerian capital market. And like I said earlier, we'll be discussing these two issues with the main individuals at the front line of these programs. Meantime, some market numbers which are very, very significant to us in capital markets. Let's begin with the fixed income markets, where the 20-year, 10-year, and 7-year, as well as the 5-year bonds tradable on the FMDQ OTC markets saw appreciation this week. The yields were all increasing. For the 20-year, it increased from 14.66% to 14.51%. Elsewhere, the federal government's Eurobonds prices tanked across maturities despite sustained profit-taking activity on the London Stock Exchange. Specifically, 10-year, 7-year, and the 5-year bonds shared some weight, as we see the yields now decreasing for the 10-year bond, which is the benchmark bond, which came in at 4.66%, all the way from 4.57%. For Treasury bills, we've got the numbers for yesterday, Friday alone. T-bills on the FMDQ OTC came in with a total of 532 deals and a total value of 135.32 billion naira. Let's switch gears to the equities markets, where the all-share index moved up 3.46%. That's a huge one. And the market capitalization turned 13.672 trillion naira. For the sectoral performance, only the oil and gas index, as well as the industrial goods indexes, came in lower, as the banking, insurance, and consumer goods did very, very significantly on that market. Let's move on to the NASD OTC. At the NASD OTC, USI came in high, 618.64, and that's by a margin of 3.11%. We'll find out why we saw that increment on that market shortly. Market capitalization for the same market is 418.65 billion naira. Notable is the fact that the unlisted securities index has moved back from the 500 psychological line down to the 600 psychological line. Still with the NASD OTC markets, this week saw the introduction of an enterprise portal for the capital market operators registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and that is for the NASD OTC traders mainly. Now, you're just about to digest the aims and objectives of this, as the chief executive of that market, Mr. Bola Ajomale, joins us to give us the details. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on Capital Market this evening.
Thank you for having us.
So let's find out first. Your markets came back up 3.11% this week. Was that as a result of the NASDAQ introduction?
They're quite unrelated. They're different markets. Or different areas that they cover. But what we're seeing is a lot more confidence returning to investors. We're seeing a lot of activity coming in to close out the year. So there are quite a few investors who want to shift their portfolios around before the end of the year. So that, I think, is making a difference.
So let's find out, what exactly is NASDAQ all about? Okay,
so we found out that a lot of information on the Nigerian economy, on the capital market, is missing. And so we're trying to, one of our first mandates is to bring transparency into the capital market. Okay. Another is to create liquidity in investments. Okay. And so in creating this portal, what we're doing is we're making it possible for enterprise to actually showcase themselves, to showcase how they're operating, to showcase their performance, their future. And at the same time, we see that there's a lot of investment that's going on from the private equity side of the market. This gives them an opportunity to actually go in there and shop for possible investments a lot easier. So what it does is it eases capital flows, and at the same time, it creates more transparency.
So who are your targets?
Okay, so every company that is in the growth mode is a target, really, because they are all seeking to attract capital, they're all seeking to grow their markets. And so all of them are targets. Again, we want to make it possible that enterprises are not forced into a situation where they have to take a loan because that's the only way they can raise capital. We want to give them another option of how they can raise capital and raise it easily from private equity. So on the buy side, we have private equity, venture capital, large accredited investors. And on the sell side, we have any enterprise that's growing, not necessarily any size or any age, but essentially any enterprise that's in growth mode.